Good afternoon, this is Donnie, and I'm sure everybody already knows that. I don't know why I keep saying it, but anyhow, I am up here. I'm at the property. I get phone alerts. I have a Tacticam, which is a trail camera. It's a cellular trail camera, and when something moves in front of the camera and it triggers the motion sensor, the PIR sensor, or a heat anomaly is detected, then it sends a notification to my phone letting me know something triggered the camera, and then it sends the picture. Well, I got home from the property, I started editing a video, and I got a notification. I looked at the picture, there's nothing in it. And as soon as I closed the app, I got another notification. So I opened it back up, and there's a vine hanging in front of the camera. The time I left, I got 1 minute delay between pictures. This is the way I got the camera set up. By the time I left and I got here, I had around 360 something pictures. It was just, 260 something pictures. They were just going off continuously, and I was trying to edit the video. I got so irritated. So I come up here, I remove the vine, and I backed the truck underneath that tree, and I got on the roof of it, and I cropped that tree. So there's nothing to get in the way now, hopefully. But as I was coming up here, there was an oak snake. Some people call them corn snakes or rat snakes. We know them down here as oak snakes, and they're normally in the trees. You'll find them in the oak trees or the cypress or the tupelo. They'll be really high up in the tree, and they eat birds. They'll eat the birds' eggs. They eat fish. They eat a little bit of everything. And they'll also eat other snakes. They're good to have. They're beneficial unless you have chickens. Then they eat all your chicken eggs. But anyhow, I caught him. He was in the road. I caught him. I put him in a bucket, and I'm about to go release him. The camera's up there, a couple hundred yards from where I'm at. I'm going to release him over here, but I also wanted to show you guys the work that we got done. We got a long ways to go, but I'll show you how much we cleared, and I'm going to show you. I'm not sure if I had shared with you guys what I had seen over here, but I guess we'll release the snake first. I want to go over there and release him, but I want to share with you what I've seen up here. I was on the phone with Don Moore, and I seen a figure. I guess I'll walk to the exact position I was at, and I'll explain to you, try to show you in real time. I haven't walked over here at all, so I don't know if there's any tracks. We've had a lot of rain since then. We got more rain coming. There's rain north of us, and it looks like some west of us. We've got a lot of rain coming tomorrow. Let me get the camera down, get it turned around. We're going to release this snake, and then I'm going to show you guys. All right, I put him in the Home Depot bucket, 5-gallon bucket. I want to release him somewhere he'll be safe. I think I'll let him go right here. This is thick. We're going to be clearing it, but I'm not going back there. I'm not going back to the property over there. That's when the activity, when we have it, that's where it comes from. This snake, he's a big one. He's about 6 foot. Look how beautiful that is. He is so pretty. Let's see if I can get him out. Come on, buddy. Come on out. Look how pretty that thing is. Oh. Well, I tried to grab him. All right, well, he's gone. But when I held him up, I held my hand up about here, which is right at the top of my head. And his head he had about 6 inches of his body on the ground. And that's the way I held him while I was trying to get this bucket out of the truck. So he may be 6.5 foot. He's a big snake, but he's harmless. He's not going to hurt people. He's not going to hurt your animals. He may work your chickens over, your small animals, but he's not going to bother your dogs and your cats and your children, your childrens. Okay, I'm gonna walk over here. You guys see how this is? This is, you know, how both sides of the property is. So this is what we had to work with. We started clearing out around this oak to open it up. We cleared out around that oak. I'm gonna walk right up here. I want to show you where I was at. We're just gonna walk this out. I got the truck parked close. My Tacticam, that oak right there, that's where I got the Tacticam. It's on that tree. All right. I had the tractor up here. Right here, I had a huge pile of trees and limbs and debris. You can see the dark coloring right here all over the ground. That's where the pile was. And it was like that pile and that pile or that pile. They're all over. We're gonna move all of them into one pile. Got one over there. Got one right here. Got one right here. Anyhow, I done hauled, I don't know, maybe 7 loads out of that pile. And I grabbed one. I get right about here. I'm idling, and over here on this road, this little trail, I see a black figure crossing. I was up on the tractor. I was a little higher. I was right here. This is where I was at. He was behind these trees right here, but I made him out. I could see everything except from his knees down. I couldn't see that. And he walked across, and I stopped the tractor, and I watched. From the tractor, you could see over this, and I could see all the way over, you know, out across there. He got behind that pile right there. I've not been over there at all today or yesterday. I'm gonna walk over there. My truck's right here. If I gotta get out in a hurry, I can do that. But I carried probably 5 or 6 more loads. I worked for a while longer before I left, but I was seeing him behind these 2 little oak trees and this one. He was just behind that one, is where he crossed. And I did get one track. I ran over it with the tractor. I did not get off the tractor and walk around and look. I don't want to see anything. The curiosity, it's hard. He came out from somewhere over here. I'm not sure exactly where he came out. But he got behind this pile, right on this back side. He never come out. So I don't know where he went. And right somewhere right here, somewhere right up in here is where I had one track. I ran over the hill of it, but you could still make it out. I could see where the hill was. And he had 5 toes, but all 5 toes were almost the same diameter. It was very strange looking. But I was taking everything to this pile, and so I had to pass it. Oh, that was the wind. Oh, Lord. About scared the tar out of me. But I don't know where he would have went. He had to go a long way to get over there to that wood line, and I would have certainly seen him. And I think he went under this. I think he went in it. This was a few days ago, so it's not as scary right now. We still got to clear all of this. We're going to leave this oak. The pretty oaks like this, we're going to leave. And we're probably going to leave the big pines. The hurricane worked them over big time. And we're leaving this one, this little oak. We're leaving that one. We're going to leave a lot of the small oaks because these are live oaks. They will get big. That pile right there, that's all garbage that was in the ground. And if you look just to the right of it in the ground, you can see a lot of trash still there. I got to pull all the foliage out, all of the trees and brush. I got to get all that stuff removed, and then bring my rake in here, my landscape rake on the tractor, and I got to rake it. It's going to take weeks just to clean that up. It's going to take me weeks to do that. But we're getting there. We got, I'm guessing, around 4 acres, 4.5 acres cleared. And the home's going to go up there. If I had this pile, this big pile moved, you'd be able to see all the way up to the home site. But we got piles. Got one right here that we just started. One there, there's one behind that one, and there's 4 piles right there. And then we got a pile here, and a little one behind it. I got a lot to do, but we are going to do it a little at a time. I'm just looking to see if there's any prints over here. I don't want to be here right now. That little dark spot right there. As soon as my eyes focused on it, it looked like there was movement right there. Lord, I hope not. I think it was just the stuff moving from the wind. It's getting windy. I've still got all this junk here that I got to get out. I don't like that at all. Let me go up here. Yeah, I'm not sure where that thing came from. The print that I seen, it did look like a bear print. It was very close to the back foot of a bear. Whatever it was that I seen, if it was a bear, he was upright. Wasn't really tall, maybe 6 feet, but he moved really quick. And it seemed like I could see his arms at his sides, swinging, at his sides like he's speed walking. I'm stressed out. Everything's making me jump. I was going to walk back here, but I'm not going to go back there. Not right now. I had planned on walking back there and just coming in. I was going to go down the trail over here and come in through the back, come out right over here and just show you guys that big game trail that comes through, but I'm not going to do that. Something's got me really just jumpy right now. I don't know why. I'm not hearing, smelling, or seeing anything. Something's got me on edge, and I don't know what it is. It may just be because of that, what I seen the other day, and then walking up over there, maybe that did make me nervous, but I don't know if that's what's causing my jumpiness. I just don't know. All right, guys, while we're here, I've got the camera aiming over there. I'm seeing some birds move, and I think I've seen a fox squirrel, something big and light colored, close to the ground. I'm not going to get far from the truck. Just too much goofy stuff happens out here. So what I figured, maybe you'll be game for it, maybe you won't, hopefully. You guys remember we did the Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker's UFO abduction article? Well, this is part 2. And I think we're going to go ahead and do this one. It's rather long, and there are pictures with it. I'm going to try to show the pictures. If for some reason you can't see them, then I'm pretty sure our brother Don Moore will have them up before long on his channel, and you'll be able to see them over there very clearly. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to share this one with you. This is a very interesting article. This is titled, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker's Terrifying UFO Abduction, the Aftermath and the Media Storm, Part 2. The dates of this was October 11th, 1973 to 1974. Locations is Pascagoula, Mississippi, which is Jackson County. The pier off the west bank of the Pascagoula River, Jackson County Sheriff's Department, Keesler Air Force Base, Gautier, I don't remember how to pronounce that correctly, Gautier, Mississippi, and the Dick Cavett Show in New York. The information sources for this article, the October 11th of 1973 interrogation and additional UFO reports from the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, the Keesler Air Force Base interrogation, the Arthur Ralph Blum's 1974 interview with Charles Hickson, and the 1974 appearance of Charles Hickson on the Dick Cavett Show. The preface reads, when Charles Hickson made the fateful yet necessary call to the Sheriff's Department after he and Calvin Parker's UFO abduction, their journey through this experience was far from over. In fact, it was just the beginning of a media storm and public interest, much to the dismay of Calvin Parker, who would have to deal with mental health issues over this. He preferred to forget about it and stay hush-hush about the abduction so as to avoid people thinking they were crazy. There was no going back for either one of them. This abduction was terrifying, and it sparked worldwide interest. Part 2 of this article concerns the aftermath and events that followed after Charles and Calvin were asked to come to and arrived at the Sheriff's Department. More details are revealed. Details such as a rash of UFO sightings had been reported all over Mississippi during the months leading up to October of 1973, and many calls had come into the Sheriff's Department at the same time as their abduction. Reports of seeing a bluish-lighted oblong UFO. It seems others in the Pascagoula area saw the same UFO craft that abducted Charles and Calvin either right before or after their abduction. Then there is the personal side, the health issues that plagued Charles and Calvin, severe headaches, sleeplessness, bad dreams, the fear of being found and taken again by the UFO robots, perhaps for good, and even a spot on Charles's arm that bled profusely, but then mysteriously went away the next day, assumed to be from the testing done to him aboard the UFO. The fear of ridicule, of not being believed, was very powerful on both of them. Much they suffered, coupled with much that was learned by all. In 2013, a few years after Charles Hickson had passed away at the age of 80 of a heart attack, Calvin Parker did an interview where he stated that looking back at the event of 1973, 40 years ago, he believes the aliens were demons sent from Satan himself. Calvin had spent decades coming to grips on why this happened to him and trying to find some measure of peace. Additional details from the Sheriff's Department interrogation. Charles says, I hadn't drank anything, but in the 45 minutes to 1 hour before I called you, the Sheriff's Department, I did drink. I had to settle my nerves. I just about went crazy, and I got to get back and let my wife know. She's probably hysterical by now. When asked if he remembered leaving the ship when they put him out, Charles replied, the only thing I remember is that kid Calvin just standing there. I'm sorry, let me reword that, or re-say that. The only thing I remember is that kid Calvin, just standing there. I've never saw that sort of fear on a man's face as I saw on Calvin's. It took me a while to get him back to his senses, and the first thing I told him was, "Son, ain't nobody gonna believe this. Let's just keep this whole thing to ourselves." Well, the more I thought about it, the more I thought I had to let some officials know. After they let me go, there was a buzzing sound and they were gone. The vehicle was about 8 feet tall. It wasn't round, it was sort of oblong, and the opening it had was at one end of it. The only lights I seen on the outside was that blue light. Inside I didn't see any bulbs for lights or anything. It just glowed light, but it was really bright. Calvin said with his voice rising, "My darn arms, my arms. I remember they just froze up and I couldn't move, just like I stepped on a darn rattlesnake. I passed out. I've never passed out in my whole life," Charles sighed. "They didn't do me that way. The sheriff's department's excuse me. The sheriff's department gets other UFO reports the same night. The sheriff's office said it had received several other calls during the night from Pascagoula residents of the area about seeing a strange blue light in the sky. Numerous UFO sightings also had been reported in many parts of the state during the past couple of weeks. Captain Glenn Ryder of the Sheriff's Department, who questioned both men Thursday night, said he thought at first they were pulling my leg. We did everything we knew to break their stories," Ryder said, "but both stories matched. If they were lying to me, they should be in Hollywood." Jackson County Chief Deputy Barney Mathis said Charles Hickson appeared to be a reasonable man and was not a heavy drinker according to his wife and employers. Authorities said both men said they were not drinking when the incident occurred, but admitted they went to have a drink or two after it was over. The robot creatures were said to have pale-skinned, wrinkled covering, and Hickson estimated he and Parker were inside the UFO for 15 or 20 minutes and examined by something similar to an electronic eye. Charles and Calvin were in the inner office being questioned and undergoing time regression hypnosis. Outside were Barney Mathis and Sheriff Fred Diamond, a slight silver-haired man in a black suit with a Masonic emblem on his lapel. All of the men from his office wore ties and jackets, and they were all Freemasons. When Sheriff Diamond was asked what he thought about what happened, he shrugged, and a puzzled look came into his eyes. Charlie Hickson said he was laid down on nothing inside the spaceship. He was weightless. He floated. And Calvin, "I'm not easy convinced, but I heard that boy pray when we was alone and thought nobody could hear. That was enough for me." Jim Flint, a foreman at Walker Shipyard where Charles and Calvin worked, had drawn the creatures the guys described, and they looked like somebody's idea of a wrinkled robot. The Keesler Air Force Base interrogation. The day after the abduction, on Friday, when, after Charles and Calvin were taken to the local hospital, they were taken to Keesler Air Force Base to be checked for radiation because the hospital didn't have any facilities for that. A man named Joe Colingo, who was the lawyer for Walker Shipyards, called the Air Force Base and said to bring the guys out. When Joe Colingo arrived at the Air Force Base in an unmarked car, the security guards were expecting him and waved him on through the moment he said who he was. Looking back through the rearview mirror, he saw 2 cars of Air Force police had fallen in behind them. There were more air police stationed at each crossing all along the road. He pulled up behind a building on concrete. The police had halted all traffic. Doctors were waiting who looked like space creatures, all wrapped in white, masked and gloved. They went over Charles and Calvin from head to toe. They ran a radioactive check. They swabbed between the guys' fingers, along the tops of their shoes, and even under the heels. Then they put each swab into a little bottle and labeled each bottle. Then some officer came and took them into the building lined with security guards at each door and along all the hallways. Then Charles and Calvin were taken into a room to be interrogated. Inside, was colonels, majors, doctors, and the famous UFO investigator, 63-year-old Dr. J. Allen Hynek. As they told their story, the reaction from the gathered officials was like they had heard it all before. The two men were hypnotized also. The questions the guys were asked was, question, what did you have to eat before the abduction? Answer, Swiss steak, rice, and gravy. Question, what did you have to drink with dinner? Any alcohol? Answer, iced tea, no alcohol. Question, was there room to stand up in the interior of the craft? Answer, yes, about 8 feet high. Question, what kind of clothes did the creatures wear? Answer, grayish, like a ghost. When Charles mentioned the claw-like hands, two colonels exchanged looks over that piece of information. That was all the questions. Later, the public information officer at the base said there was nothing more to tell. The case was closed, and a promised report of the interrogation findings that was supposed to be sent to the sheriff's department. No report ever arrived. Go figure. When exiting the interrogation room and asked what he thought about the two men's testimony, the UFO investigator, 63-year-old Dr. Alan J. Hynek, frowned and responded, I think they're telling the truth. I think they had a genuine UFO experience. Charles Hickson's encouraging letters and a visit from an author. Author Ralph Blum sought out the two men to interview them shortly after the UFO incident in a housing development in Gauchier, west of Pascagoula, where Charles lived in an apartment. Tacked to the front door was a handwritten note asking people to not disturb the family. They had been through a lot, and please talk to their lawyer, Mr. Colingo. Author Ralph Blum explains, there was a battered white Chevy in front of the apartment. Charlie and Calvin were just getting out. I reintroduced myself, but Charlie remembered sitting with me in Captain Willis's office. Calvin looked less upset than last time I'd seen him, but the real change was in Charlie. He still looked bone-weary, but he was calm. I had a feeling of his strength. We went into Charlie's bedroom to talk. Charlie and I sat on the floor with the tape recorder between us. Calvin stretched out on the bed, not saying much, but not uneasy either. At one point, he went out and brought in an armful of letters for me to see. Some asking to know more, some telling Charlie they believed him and were praying for him, and a whole lot telling of their own UFO encounters, often years before. Experiences they'd never dared tell anyone about. Letters by the thousands, Charlie was saying. And these people over here I rent from my apartment from, they can't even use their telephone. They brought me hundreds and hundreds of calls, and not one of those calls from anyone that disbelieves us. As Charlie talked, he kept handing me letters to read, such as, I believe you, as do my own father. He and another man saw a flying saucer 20 years ago. There's no doubt in my mind that what you saw was true. The letters made a real difference, Charlie said, and my son, he's a Marine on Okinawa, he sent me a clipping. He said, Dad, I almost had a heart attack. I know, Dad, you just don't lie. It scared me to death. I was afraid they'd hurt you in some way. Charlie's face had a parched, wind-burned look, like a man who's spent a long time in the desert. He was taking lots of aspirin, and he told me and only sleeping a few hours a night, but it was getting better. At first, those dreams I had were awful, and the headaches were so bad, like a pressure on my skull. He spread his fingers and clasped them about his head. It's easier now, but it keeps coming into my mind. What did they do to me? They might want to come back and get me. I've thought about it. They weren't hostile or anything like that, and they didn't do me any physical harm, but I don't know what they did to me. Only time will tell. Even though I need some sleep and rest my mind, it's just like it's always been. But still, all in all, I don't know what they did to me. I asked him what he thought about the creatures. Calvin and I have talked about that too, he said. We've put our minds together and we've come to the conclusion they were robots, and we think they might have been programmed. They had a specific thing to do and they did it, and they weren't distracted one way or the other. They just did it, and that was it. I'll believe till the day I die that they were robots and that they were communicating with something else. I asked what it was like inside the craft. It was very bright inside there, Charlie said. I'm a welder, a burner, and a fitter. I'm used to bright light, but my eyes bothered me for 2 or 3 days. I just let it go. Maybe I got a flash down at the shipyard, like from welding, but I don't know. And there's something else that I didn't want to stress. I didn't tell the doctors about it. They asked me if I had any marks on my arm. Well, on my left arm. Was it the next day, Calvin, or the day after? Day after, Calvin replied from the bed where he was lying. My arm started bleeding right here. Charlie pointed to a spot between his bicep and his shoulder. Calvin and my wife were witnesses to it. I took a handkerchief and almost wet that handkerchief in blood, Charlie said in a calm, factual tone, and it scared me. It scared me really badly. The next day I can't explain it, but there wasn't anything there. Not any mark at all, none whatsoever. There was something else that scared me half to death. A fellow from Texas looked me in the eye and said to me, I honestly believe you can contact those beings again. Did you believe him, I asked. Well, that was before I got over my fear, said Charlie. I told him, heck man, I don't want to contact them again. But he thinks it's possible, and I don't know. They just might have done something to me so that I can. I thought about that in the last few days. I don't know because I don't know what they done to me. When I asked about Charlie never being able to wear a watch, he replied, I never could. People said I had electricity. To give you an example, before I went into the service, I tried 2 or 3 wristwatches, but they wouldn't keep time on me. They would either lose time, gain time, or they'd just stop. Then after I went to Asia, we captured North Koreans and Chinese who had pockets full of watches taken off of the GIs they had killed. Well, I said to myself, I'm just going to see if I can find a brand that would keep correct time, but I never did find one. I even tried those Elgin's railroad pocket watches. Even they wouldn't keep correct time, so I don't wear a watch. As Charlie spoke, he sat staring into space, his eyes unfocused as if he was seeing into his own future. I felt as if I was intruding in these people's home and in their life. Listen, Charlie, if you'd rather I come back another time. No, he said. You ask me what you want to know. My wife will be all right. I'll make it quick, I said. Did you touch anything when you were in the craft? I never did touch anything. I was just floating on nothing. And that's something I still can't believe. I just can't believe it. All I could move was my eyes. The only thing that came into mind was, now we're going to where they're going to take me. And I still don't know whether they had moved from here or not. There were no sounds, but I asked Dr. Hynek, was it possible that they could have left here with us? And he said it's possible. I had no sensation of movement, but he said it was still possible. What about when it was over and they set you back down outside? Could you feel your body coming back? No, I didn't feel that. It was more or less like my mind was coming back. You know, at night I lie in bed and I think about them. Are you still afraid? No, the fear's gone, Charlie said. If I think, I think I would like to get in touch with them. I mean it. Every night when I'm in bed, it's almost like a picture that comes into my mind, and it's just the same way every time. Are you reliving what happened? No, I'm not in the picture. It's just them. They're not doing anything. They're not inside the ship. They're just there. All I have to do is close my eyes. We sat a moment in silence, Calvin hugging a pillow. Charlie cross-legged, deep in thought. As I got up, I asked Charlie, what made you decide about let me do that over. As I got up, I asked Charlie what made him decide to tell about the encounter. Charlie said, I guess there's no way I could have lived with it for the rest of my life. I couldn't keep it on my conscience. I felt I'd be doing my country an injustice if I didn't let someone know. I told Calvin, they're going to call us crazy, but come hell or high water, I'm going to contact some authority. And now, how do you feel about it? Our lives will never be the same, said Charlie, but I felt we owed it to the people to tell what we saw. I honestly believe that other human beings here are going to go through the same sort of thing. We haven't seen the last of it. We're not alone, and that's all there is to it. We're not alone. 2 million Americans watched the Dick Cavett show in 1974. Charles Hickson was invited to appear on the Dick Cavett show in New York to tell his story. On the panel would be Charles, an astronaut, 2 noted astronomers, which included Dr. Carl Sagan, a helicopter pilot who almost collided with a UFO, and an author who had written a book on the Bermuda Triangle. Charlie was in New York for the first time in his life, and it was natural that he might be nervous appearing on TV for the first time. So his book author, Ralph Blum, stated, he had been allotted 15 minutes of major network time to tell people across the nation about his encounter, to people trying to make up their minds about unidentified flying objects. Author Ralph Blum says, Charlie was sitting next to the TV set. Nobody was paying much attention. I pushed through the crowd and squatted down beside him. How's it going? I asked. Just fine, he said with a slow smile. Charlie looked well relaxed and sunburned. He said, Calvin and I had a day squirrel shooting up in Jones County. How was Calvin? I asked. Charlie shook his head. Not so good. He's had a breakdown. He's in the hospital in Laurel. I'm going to see him as soon as I get home. Dick Cavett came in and spoke to each of his guests. His quiet, almost bashful way of approaching people was very reassuring. He then turned to a darkly handsome young man. Say again? Is that the correct pronunciation? Dr. Carl Sagan nodded. Right, he said. During the show, when asked if anyone else reported the UFO, the answer was heck yes. There were 2 cops in Mansfield who reported seeing it. Chick Roberts of the Ashland Times-Gazette got more reports. People saw it all right. In answer to Dick Cavett's questions, Charles told his story simply and clearly with no hesitation or faltering. When Cavett asked what he was thinking as they took him inside the craft, Charlie shook his head and said the only thing that kept going through my mind was that they were going to take me away. Charlie got his first laugh. Dr. Carl Sagan argued about the vast distances between stars and worlds would make it possible for travel, and there was no direct evidence to support life on other worlds like ours, but tempered that with stating it would be highly likely that some of those may have life forms due to the sheer number of stars and planets, and that in ancient times alien life forms may have visited Earth and left behind some type of artifacts. He said belief is important in science, and the emotional experiences people have with something strange cannot be disregarded. Dick Cavett presided over the nation's first open meeting between scientists and UFO witnesses with skill, humor, and courtesy. Dr. Carl Sagan, in a white Palm Beach suit, certainly dominated the show, but it was Dr. Hynek who quietly summed it all up. Well, if these are intelligences, Hynek said, then they know something about the physical world that we don't know. And they also know something about the psychic world that we don't know, and they're using it. Wow. And guys, excuse me, that is it of this article. Now I'm going to show you guys the pictures to the best of my ability. The wind's blowing like crazy. Hopefully, let me turn my monitor on up here. There we go. Hold on, guys. I'm zoomed way in. Let me zoom out. Okay, there we go. All right. This one is Charles and Calvin in a 1973 newspaper article with the alien and the ship. And this is the 2 men. I hope you guys can see that. Brother Don, if you're watching, please throw these pictures up for our family here to see. This it's really hard to show them today. It's blowing. And this is 1 year later in 1974, after the initial UFO abduction. Charles Hickson returns to the spot they were fishing at before the abduction to do a local TV interview. Trying to hold it steady, you guys. Golly, this wind is bad. And this is a drawing of the UFO, 8 feet tall by about 9 feet wide. It's really hard in this wind to keep this together, I'm sorry. And this is Calvin Parker with failing health when he decided to come forth in 2015 to tell his story and to write a book. God bless him. And there's the man. All right, you guys, that is it on the pictures. That is it for that particular article. What an amazing article. Oh, this wind's hard. I'm not going to be able to, I don't think I can get these in. But we're going to try. Come on, get in there before the wind starts. There we go. All right, you guys, that's it for today. It's just too windy to share the other ones. The rest of what we got, let me turn this camera around a little bit while I put this up. We've only got like one article left right now. We got more. Brother Don's got a pile of them. We got more coming. But as far as what I have on me, I've got one more, and it's about Florida Stonehenge, and we're going to be doing that one next. Y'all have a wonderful evening. God bless each and every one of you. And if you haven't watched the previous video, the Giants and the Patty video that I just uploaded it today. If you haven't watched that, please go and watch it. Not so much for the articles, but our sister Dee from Lady in the Woods, her husband Denny had to spend some time in the hospital. They believe he had a stroke. But guys, they are in a pickle financially. They are really in a bad way. They've lost just about everything, and they're struggling just to put food on the table. Please pray about it. See what the Lord tells you to do. And if the Lord's leading you, or your heart is leading you to help them, please help them. In that video, in the description below it, I put Dee's PayPal. If you go to PayPal and you search, I will tell you what it is Peekaboo's Scrubs. I've got to pull it up because I can't never remember the numbers. It's Peekaboo's, Peekabooz Scrubs, SCRUBS, at the little at symbol, DDJS2000. I'm going to spell that one more time. PEEKABOOZSCRUBS at DDJS2000, numeric 2000, numeric 2000. Please, if you got it and you want to help someone, and there's so many here that have helped almost everyone that we've ever done a call out for help for. And if you guys and gals are wanting to help Dee and Denning, I cannot stress the importance of it enough. I can't do that. It's very hard over a video, but they need the help tremendously. And if you got it and you'd like to help, No amount is too small anytime you help anyone. If someone fusses because you sent $1 to them and they fuss about that, then it's obvious they didn't need it to begin with. God will fill your heart with gratitude, and you will have a heart of thanksgiving when somebody sends a quarter to you when you're in need. That heart of thanksgiving will explode, and you'll be forever grateful to them. And I know D quite well. I've never met Danny. I have spoke to him on it was on a phone call with D one time, and he's an extremely pleasant man. They are both filled with the Spirit of God, and they absolutely need our help. So please consider sending D some money to help them out. I wouldn't ask you if it wasn't important. We're not here, asking to pay the power bill of somebody because they decided to lay out of work and they lost their job, or they missed a day of work, or whatever. We're asking people that they don't have there's not another outlet to help them. It's up to us. Dee and Denny's brothers and sisters, it's up to us to make this happen and to help pull them out of what they're going through. The demon's attacking them. The enemy is on them hard, and all we can do is keep the prayers going for them. Through faith comes strength, and through numbers in faith comes strength in numbers. God bless y'all. I love you, and I'll absolutely see you soon. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon, a very blessed evening. Be safe, be kind. Enjoy life while you got it. You never know when the Lord's going to call you home. And just make sure to set things up around you with your loved ones that you don't leave them hanging. I love y'all. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Here comes the rain. But I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go home. I'll see you guys.